Welcome to my next Google Spreadsheet tutorial. Today we'll be covering a function called import range. If you're an Excel user, you probably had a situation when you have one file where there's all the data. And then you also now have a new file where you want to do some calculation based on the data that you had on your first file. Now this is where import range function comes in useful when you have different Google Sheets. And you need an information to be pulled in from another sheet. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to go to Google Sheets. So here I have this file. It's called sales data. I'm going to click on it so you can see what's in it. So we have some sales information. So we have some sales reps, some state, the brand of product that was sold. We have how much revenue we've generated on that particular day. And so on. And I'm going to press Ctrl+Rook it down. And this should send me to the list. Cell in this file. So there we are. So about 20,000 records apparently in this file. And what I'm going to do is simply just go and open a whole new blank Google spreadsheet. And the first thing I need to do is type a name, import range, good enough function. Function. So what I would like to do here, let me zoom in a little bit, is go get data from this file. Let's say we have sales data. And a very basic thing we probably would like to do is sum up all the sales data in this file. But before we get to it, let's just do something very basic. Let's just try to refer to this F2 cell in our other spreadsheet. And in this cell, you'll see that in our F2 cell, there is this sales number $37.66. So I'm going to go here and type import range just to label this. And right next to it, we will use our import range function to bring that number in. So equals import range. I'll go ahead and hit tab to autofill the rest. Now the first argument in our function is spreadsheet key. So to find this key, you go to your other spreadsheet that you have. And you'll see in your address bar right here on top, you'll have this google.com/spreadsheet/d/. So right after this d/, you'll see the actual spreadsheet key. So it starts there and it goes all the way here after it gets to the /edit. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. So you can do right-click copy or Ctrl+C Command+C, depending on if you are in a Mac or a PC, you'll figure that out. So I'm going to go back to my other tab. And here I will just use the spreadsheet key. Now, spreadsheet key should be in string text format, meaning you do quote. I'm going to paste that and quote to close that string. So that's our first argument, our spreadsheet key. Comma is our second argument. So the second argument is the range that we're referring to on the other function. So I'm going to go here. So the first of all, I'm going to refer to the tab name to have a full reference. So the tab that we have is transactions. That's the tab. So transactions, ! And that refers to our worksheet. And now we would like to refer to this F2 cell. So I'll go ahead and type F2 right after that. Close the quote. Now, if you're coming from Excel, this may be a little funny looking because this is a reference to a range while it is still in string format. You still use quotes. This is still string or text reference. So we'll go ahead and close our function parentheses. Now I'm going to hit enter. Now, what are you going to get if you're doing this for the first time working with that particular worksheet? You're going to get this reference error. And if you roll over it, you're going to see that basically the reason that we're getting this is because we're not allowed to use information from that other worksheet. So what I'm going to do is allow access. And now no problem. We got our number, which was 3,766 right there. So that was a very basic understanding how import range function works. And I guess I'll try to type this right. There we are. So now the next thing we want to do is something more useful. So something very basic we may want to do is sum up all the sales in this file and get the total. So that's in our range from F2 all the way down. Great. So I'm going to go here and type total sales. And here we'll start our equal sign and I'll start with a sum function. Now I have to refer to my range that I would like to import from the other tab. So again, I'm going to go ahead and type import range. That's my function. Then we have our key. So one more time I'll go ahead and copy the key. Go back here, paste that in. Comma. So now I'll also refer to my second argument transactions. And we said it was starting in F2 cell. Then we wanted to basically sum up all the way down in our column. So I'll do F2:F, which means basically start from F2 and get whatever is left over in this column. So I'll close this parentheses, and this parentheses was for our import range function. So I will need one more parentheses to close my sum function. Hit enter and I got a reference error. So I cannot find range or sheet for important range. Let's see what I did wrong here. Trend. Sack. Shins. Obviously I did a misspell there. So here we go. Let's give it a second. There it is. That's our total. So that was a basic use of import range. So now let's get to something a little more complicated. So sometimes a text that you may want to do is get sales, but not all sales. Let's say we want to get just our sales in our Midwestern region. Right. Or maybe we wanted the sales for our state of Illinois. So I'm going to go for my region Midwestern. I'm going to go here and type Midwestern sales. So to do this we'll have to use a function SumProduct. So if you're not familiar with SumProduct, maybe you want to watch SumProduct video. If you are, then it will be pretty straightforward for you. So I'm going to go ahead and type my SumProduct. So technically what I'm trying to do is sum of calculation, but since I'm referring to a different tab, then I'm going to use SumProduct for this. So I'm going to start by SumProduct. So the first thing I'll have to do is get my sales numbers. So I'll go ahead and refer to that range. Now to make it easy, instead of doing this all over again, I'm just going to hit enter. It's going to give me an error. That's okay. I'm going to get in here and just copy my import range function from this formula. Escape out of it. Go back to my SumProduct. So the first array in my SumProduct is going to be that first range, which is sales range we have. I'm going to go ahead and now paste that same range again. Let's try to expand this a little bit. So there we are. Yes, I'll close this so it doesn't get on the way. So that's what we have. Now I'll have to obviously adjust the second range. So the first one was the column F, which is our sales. So the second one is the C column, which is our region column. And we want to get just Midwestern. So what I'm going to do is just modify this instead of F. This is going to be from C2:C, meaning get the rest in this particular column. And I'm going to go right after the parentheses, which is the closing of our import range function. And I'm going to say I want this to be equal to, and in my quotes, I'll go Midwestern, close my code there. So there it is. I want it to be Midwestern region. So hopefully I didn't misspell anything. I'll go ahead and hit enter. Let's give it a second. And there we are. We have our number. We'll probably just make this currency formatting. So that's my Midwestern sales. Now obviously you didn't have to just hardcode Midwestern in the cell. You could have just had a cell. So for example, let's say I'll type region. And let's make this bold. And I'll type Midwestern. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this entire formula. Right there. Escape out of it. Go back here and paste. And the only thing I'll really have to change is this equals Midwestern part. So I don't need to be equals that hard-coded string. So what it's going to be equals the cell, which is a 6. So I'm going to go ahead and copy, basically just click on a 6, where I have made Western type and hit enter. And I'll get my total. Now let's say we also have Western. I'm going to go ahead and try to fill this down. Now an interesting thing, if you're coming from Excel, you would probably think this shouldn't work. But it is going to work, because when we provide this import range function range, while we provide it in relative mode, that's a relative reference right here. Because it's a string meaning text, it doesn't really change. So this is not a regular cell reference. So therefore I don't even need to lock anything. It's automatically locked by default. All I have to do is just make sure my S7 cell reference is relative in this case. I don't need to lock anything. And all I have to do is just fill my formula down. And that's going to give me my total. So I could go ahead and type my next region here. What else we had here? So we have solder in, for example, so there we are. I'll just drag this down. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and make this whole currency formatting. And apparently we have a lot more sales in Midwestern region than in the others. So there you go. So that's our import range function. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you have any questions or suggestions, as usual, just comment or let me know.